Record better audio anywhere with Motive digital microphones from Shure. Easy-to-use options like the MV88 plug directly into your phone or computer and include a free app. Create studio-quality sound for podcasts, music, and videos. Visit Shure.com to learn more.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Mason, and I have my own custom website. It was built by Wellhaven and Associates. Check out my website at www.authoryvonnemason.com. You can have a custom website built just for you and your business too. If you mention my name, you will receive $100 off the cost of your website. Remember, www.authoryvonnemason.com. And remember, Wellhaven and Associates for all of your custom website needs, as well as business cards and other promotional items.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and yes, another little bit of shameless self-promotion, but I do that well. I hope everyone had a happy Halloween. I know I did. We only had like 5 trick-or-treaters. But that being said, it's my favorite time of year because I don't know how many of you all saw, my granddaughter now belongs to the U.S. Army. Mm-hmm. Her dream has come true. I'm so proud of her. She got inducted on her late sister's favorite holiday, my favorite holiday, so now they need to make Halloween a national holiday. So go Brit. Go Army strong. A dream, and y'all know how I feel about dreams, a dream that she's been dreaming since she was 10 years old. She's been talking to recruiters since she was 10 years old. She's 17. She put her name on the dotted line. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, dreams do come true. Another bit of shameless self-promotion. Tonight, our first show of the week it's an amazing show. We're going to educate you all on book covers and all things that go with book covers and why we have to have book covers when we do our work or any art that you do. You have to have a piece of advertisement that pops. So my guest tonight is my book cover designer, who I might share, and an author in her own right, Debi DeSantis. I've known Debi for ever. She is
Hello,
an
Yvonne. How are you?
Hey, honey. I'm fine. Debi is an award-winning book cover designer as well as an author. She's originally from Bensalem, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia. Now she lives on the west coast of Florida with her husband of 22 years and her teenage son, Nicholas, who I adore. And some of her vices are travel, making crafts, spending time with family, and doing anything creative. And after she published numerous poems, Debi won a couple of awards and was asked to travel to D.C. to accept her award. This gave her the green light for finishing her dusty manuscript, which she decided to title She Cries in the Dark. Using some of her own life experiences as well as a lot of imagination, Debi's book was born. Then she decided to self-publish after many attempts at the large publishing houses, and she was well aware of the low chance that a traditional publisher would welcome her with open arms. Their loss. Debi went on the road and participated in book signings at the big bookstores to try to get her name out there. Then with social media becoming such a huge outlet for indie authors, she joined the bandwagon and uses her website as well as her Facebook page to let others know about her writing and cover design. Debi, I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. It's so exciting. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, thank you, and thank you so much for thinking of me and having me. I'm really excited about this, so I'm ready to answer whatever you got for me.
Oh, it's just the two of us and 5,000 of our closest friends.
Okay. Hi, closest friends.
What I want to talk about a little bit is before you and I hooked up, and we'll get to that in a minute, talk about how you got to this point. What brought you to this path of writing and book cover designing?
Well, my path of writing actually began kind of in high school. I was in 12th grade, and my English teacher gave us an assignment to come up with a story, and then of course we had to read it out loud in class and whatnot, but it had to be like a full story. It had to have all the plot and the climax and the beginning and the end and all that stuff that makes it a great story, almost like a mini book. So something along your lines, Yvonne, with crime and mystery and things. I put together a story that involved a husband and wife, and if I can remember correctly, because it was like 32 years ago, somehow he killed her and put her underneath his house, under the floorboards, and he constantly thought he was hearing her beating heart in his head. So every time somebody would come to visit or somebody was there talking with him, he could constantly hear the heartbeat. And so, it got to the point where it was so loud in his ears that he actually thought everybody else could hear it. So long story short, he ended up ripping up the floorboards and saying, I did it, I killed her, and whatnot. But that's kind of how I got started writing. And then I just didn't bother doing anything after that until probably around 1995, which would have been 10 years later. And I worked in the retail business, and I would at lunch sit and read. And I was like, why can't I do this? I have stories to tell. So I just started writing a little bit at a time. And then after putting it away for a while, because I just lost interest in it at the time, I began to just pull it out again and just start writing. And after talking with my husband, we decided that I would go ahead and start writing full time. And that's what I did. And I wrote She Cries in the Dark. And after that, I wrote The Other Side of You. And unfortunately, I have pretty bad writer's block for the past several years and have not been able to finish my third, which I am like 270 pages into. So that's how I did the writing.
We got to unblock the brain.
I know.
Tell me about your awards for your poetry and going to D.C. to get that award. What award was that, and when did that happen?
It was the award of, I believe it was a merit award for the poetry, and they sent me a letter in the mail after I submitted some of my poems, and they said, why don't you come on down to D.C. and accept your award? So we did that. My husband and I were really excited, and we went ahead, and I think it was like around 2006 probably, that I had won that first award. And we went to D.C., and we were with all the other people that had won a couple awards as well. And they handed me, my award, and it was a silver bowl on a platform, with my name on it engraved and everything. And I was thrilled to death to have this honor. And then I, read my poem to everybody else, and it was published in a coffee table book. And that was like my first real published story or poem or published works, I guess you would call it. And then I won another award, I think was the next year, for another poem that I had written. And it gets expensive. They want you to travel all the time and go accept your awards. So I just eventually started accepting them through the mail, because I can't just go drop at the hat and just go traveling around everywhere because I had my young son. So, but that's about how I started that. And then, like I said, I just went into writing full time and wrote those other two stories, which are drama and romance, kind of combined. So it would be something probably you'd see on maybe Lifetime or something, that kind of a story where there's a lot of drama, but yet it's a romance.
How in the world, because, I do my research, how in the world did you fall in love with criminal justice?
I've always been a fan of anything that had to do with the criminal element, I guess you could say. Started with the TV shows that came out, like Cops, and the chases, and what made criminals do what they do? What makes them such a criminal element? So I decided to go to school for criminal justice. And I took several classes back in like 93, I think it was, 1993. It was called Tampa College back then. And I started with the classes, and I did a little bit of dabbling in that, and I think I got 1 year done, and then I got married and then never went back again, unfortunately, for the criminal justice part of it. But it always fascinated me as to try to figure out why they do what they do, and the justice system, and it was just something that I loved, and I still to this day love it. I watch ID channel all the time. That's constantly on my TV, and my husband's constantly like, "You just love death, murder, kill," and that's what he calls it, because that's like all that's on, and I just really like those real nitty-gritty, killing my wife or the husband, or how to get away with this and how to get away with that. And I just think it's fascinating how they find who did it, the stuff that's involved with the forensics and, tracking down the killer and things like that. And I know that's what a lot of your books are about.
Oh, Well, I have a suggestion that may help with the writer's block. In your third book, take it in a different direction.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I was changing ears, Yvonne. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said in your third book, take your characters in a different direction, because you love criminal justice. Yes,
you were right. I could do something like that instead of just trying. Like, I'm just trying to keep putting an ending to it, and the ending that should be with the book just isn't mashing. You know what I mean? It's just like I just can't get it. But if I did take it in a direction and use my same characters, because actually the character that I use in the book, he was also going into the forensic science part of it, went to college and things like that in the beginning of the book. So I could probably take him in a whole different direction than I did. But you're correct on that. Yep.
There's your book. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first here. We fixed Debi DeSantis writer's block.
I'll cross my fingers on that.
I guarantee you, when we get off tonight and you have time to clear your head and the conversation of tonight's show comes back to you, and of course when you go back and listen to it in archives after I put it on all the podcasts that we've got out there, it's going to hit you. That because if you're like me, Debbie, the characters have their own dialogue in your head. And if we don't allow the characters to write the story, we are only the facilitator. And we have to allow the characters to write the story. And it sounds like what has happened is you took that character to the door, and then you slammed the door and said, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you walk through." And the character says, "Well, watch this." I'm not going to help you anymore
exactly
either.
Like it. Yes, that's exactly what happened.
So what you do is you say, "Okay, I'm going to listen to you now. Where do you want to go with this?" And even if you have to go back and do some rewrites, I guarantee you your writer's block will go away. And I speak from experience.
And I'm sure doing that, and, like you said, if I could take them in a whole, it would totally rework the entire book, and it would probably turn into something along the lines of, your stories, the crime and things like that, which is just a whole different way of the writing that I do now. So, yes, that would be very interesting. So I really might take you up on that.
Right, you've got the drama.
Yeah.
Now you just got to add the criminal element, and I guarantee you that's because if your character is already a forensic specialist, he's already told you what he wants to do.
Right, and I tried to change it, and I shouldn't have done it that way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we are the facilitators. It's the character story. And he wanted to go in that direction. You slammed the door, and he said, okay, I'll just shut up till you get smart again.
I'll teach you. Yeah.
Exactly. Because remember way back when I was working on A Voice from the Grave, that book took 4 blooming years for me to write.
Okay,
But it took 4 years. And the reason it took 4 years is, of course, all the research I did, but I was also going to write it the way I wanted to write it. And the main character kept saying, no, you're not. You write it that way, and I'll just shut up. So I said, okay, fine.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
see, they are real people, aren't they?
Oh, yes, they are real people. No, ladies and gentlemen, we're not insane. We're artists. And artists, well, maybe we are insane. Anyway, how did you get involved in designing book covers? What made you decide to go in that direction, other than your character telling you that he was shutting up because he was pissed off at you?
Honestly, when I wrote my first book, She Cries in the Dark, I was doing research online to find out in reference to getting my cover done and publishing the book. And actually, I came across Lulu, and that's who I published my book through, and that's a indie publisher and self-publishing. And I saw that it had a template for where you can put your own cover idea, and that they would print the book for you, and you just needed to kind of make the cover. So I just did lots of research and found some pictures and plugged them in to where I needed to put them into. And after a lot of mistakes and a long time of different covers and things to put to the book, I finally came up with one and sent it through to Lulu and had it published. And even after that cover, and everybody liked it and whatnot, I think I changed that cover probably 4 or 5 times on that book, because I just, as I got better and as I started doing it more often, I'm like, let me change that cover, because now I have more ideas, for what the cover could be based on what the story is. And I just kind of took myself in that direction to where I wanted to do more of that, more of the book cover making than I did really seriously wanting to do the writing. I've always done very creative things. I had my own silk flower business years and years and years ago. I had my own gift basket shop in Davie, Florida, after I had my son, and I made gift baskets and things like that for holidays, and then wreaths and all kinds of stuff. So I've always been on the creative aspect of stuff. My brain is always going. And it's just like it won't shut off, So I felt that I owed it to my books to make covers that I thought would represent them the best. So and that's kind of how I started.
And on that note, that segues into my next train of thought is, and ladies and gentlemen, I know you readers out there understand what we're talking about. How important, Debbie, is a book cover that literally jumps off the shelf at you when you're in a store or when you're online looking for a book? How important is that book cover?
That is probably the most important. I mean, besides writing your story as an author, and that, of course, is one of the most important. Without that, I mean, you won't even have a book, but you really need to have somebody that, like Yvonne always says, is in her head. So by having a cover designer that really feels what you're feeling for a book cover, that is very important, because within, the first 10 to 15 seconds of seeing that cover, most of the time you're going to either pick it up or you're going to pass it by. whatever the cover may be, if it's something that you think that catches your eye or not, you know. So, and, you know, you're just kind of putting your cover out there or your book out there with its cover, and if it's a brown paper bag looking cover with maybe a cartoon character on it or something that your cover designer decides to make for you, would you pick up that book and want to read it? It has to be something that you think you'd want to read as well. That's the way I look at it.
And we were talking before the show, ladies and gentlemen, consider the book cover a 15-second commercial on television. And if that 15-second commercial doesn't grab you, you're not going to reach for that book, or you're not going to go in and see what that book is about, simply because the cover does tell a 15-second story. Am I right, Debbie?
Yes, you are. And also, too, to add to that, being an author myself, I think that allows me to maybe create more deeply, or to be able to touch upon your story more so, instead of just being the cover designer. Since I also know how to write it, it kind of gives me an advantage, I think, that I'm able to put together the cover based on how you're writing the story, even though the only thing I know about your story is the little blurb you're giving me. And based on the title and the blurb, I put together the cover.
And we're going to do a piece of shameless promotion here, because this is the most current thing you've done for me. Ladies and gentlemen, Debi DeSantis has done all 18 of my book covers. All 18 book covers. And I will not have anyone but her, because she does stay in my head. And I'm going to do, like I said, another piece of shameless promotion, but this is important. The book we just released, Justice for Cindy, when I started the book, I told Debbie what I was doing and why I was writing it. Well, she sent me a cover, and I sat on the cover the entire time I was writing the book. And I went back to her, and it was a mock-up. It wasn't a complete cover. It was a mock-up, just to let me feel it for a little while, see if it was going to mesh. Well, I went back to her, and I said, Debbie, I said, and my covers are gruesome, but they're gruesome for a reason, because my books are gruesome. Even my comedy's gruesome. I said, Debbie, I don't want to cause the family angst. I want the family to feel at peace. This is the story. And I told her about the husband executing his wife, dismembering her body, throwing her in the Columbia River, and he got out in 25 years, and this family had no peace. The cover that Debbie did, not only did she do a smashing cover, and she encompassed the entire story on the front of that cover. It was a 15-second commercial, because she had Justice for Cindy. She has the pair of wedding rings on the end of the judge's gavel. She has the gavel hitting the justice block and shattering it. And over on the side, she says, "Time for peace." And then at the top of the cover, she shows a pair of bloody hands dripping down on the gavel and the block, and it tells the story. And when Linda, Cindy's sister, saw the cover, she loved it, because she understood what the cover was saying. So Debbie stays in my head. All I have to do is give Debbie, 3-4 sentences, Debbie? Not even a full paragraph.
Correct. And, of course, the name of the book helps out as well, because that also kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into, what you're doing as far as where the story, begins. Justice for Cindy, of course, is something that she's going to need justice for. So right away you would think, maybe something that has to do with court or gavel or something. And then you just kind of take a bunch of pictures and see, give them to you and see what you think. And then when I put something together, and And we came up with that one.
And it's an amazing cover. Now, this isn't something that an author can expect you to whip up in 5 minutes.
Correct.
Explain to our audience the process from the time you get the request from your author and the information that you need. Explain to them the process, what it takes, and how long it takes you.
Well, once I get the request from the author, I go ahead and I start searching the sites that I purchase my pictures from, because I do purchase the pictures. They're royalty-free photos. And what I do is I'll go ahead and pick out a bunch of photos that I believe, based on what the author tells me, is going to have something to do with what's inside the book. So I'll pick several photos. Sometimes it's only one or two, but with Justice for Cindy, for example, it was about probably 5 or 6 different photos. And then what I do is I go into my programs. I have a couple different book cover programs and editing programs in Photoshop. And I just go into the programs and I will manipulate the photos, maybe taking the entire background out and just using a gavel or the rings and putting them into the picture, where I literally make the cover. Instead of artistically doing it as far as drawing it or painting it, I do it like you would if you did that, but I do it with my programs. And it can take anywhere from maybe 3-4 hours to complete something, because some of your book covers actually, when I've thrown them together and you're like, that's it, that's the one I want, that's great. And then I'll just rework it a little bit and maybe play around with it for a few more days. But you're the quickest covers that I've ever done, ever. And thank you for that, because let me tell you, it can take, I worked on one probably before the author was, like I'm working on one right now, for instance, and the idea that he has in his head is something that really, in my opinion, needs to be drawn. Like, would need an artist to kind of do it, because when you start getting into wanting all these weird things, and I see the guy on the cliff, and I see him with the knife in his hand, and I see him with a backpack, and I see him with all these pictures. You got to put all together to make this guy with the backpack on the cliff with a knife or a certain sword, or, because maybe their book is about this certain kind of sword. And that sword only comes from Japan and it's engraved, and you need to put that on the book cover. And trying to do that so specifically can take forever, because you're just putting picture on top of other picture and another picture, and, modifying it and stretching it and sizing it and everything. So you could go anywhere from 4 hours to a couple months before you literally find the perfect pictures that you can manipulate enough to tell the story that the author has in their head. And
that being said, now you just gave me a little bit, and I automatically saw a cover, and it wasn't the man with the backpack on a cliff with the sword. You know what it was?
Mm-hmm.
It was just the sword in gold behind a black background or a dark green background. To me, that would pop. Okay, it's about a sword. That's all you need.
Well, this, as a matter of fact, this story that takes place with the sword, he wants the man who represents himself, because it's kind of a book about himself. He needs the other people that are in the story. He wants them on the cover, as well as the place where it's taking place, which is in Arizona, and it's in the middle of the desert, but yet it's got a mountain in the background. So he's trying to, put all these ideas together of every single scene in the book onto the book cover.
You can't do that.
No, you can't do that.
that takes away
you can't.
from the book. That literally,
Exactly.
it's too much information. And ladies and gentlemen, you got to walk a very fine line between not enough information and too much. It's like I interviewed Leanne Sotomayor Murphy the other night, and she talked about having to. She started out in radio writing ads, and they were 15-second ads, and they had to be tight because you had to get across your product in 15 seconds. So, and this gentleman is wanting to get his product out there in a 30-minute commercial.
Mhm.
He doesn't need a 30-minute commercial. He needs a tight 15-second commercial. Yeah, maybe it represents the man is him and his friends. Let's find that out in the book. Put it on the back of the synopsis, but don't muddy your book cover with too much information.
Right. Exactly. Because if it has too much, people you only have your interest or your attention for so long on something, a book or a commercial like you said or whatever it is, and once that you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, there's a guy and then you lose interest in it and you go on to the next one. So like you said, it has to all kind of just real quick tell the
and
the
ladies
story.
and gentlemen, for those of you who have seen my book covers, you understand what Debbie and I are talking about. You pick up one of my books, there's three things about my book you will see. You will see the title, you will see the author, and you will see a focal point. Am I right, Debbie?
Yes, you are correct. Mhm.
And then the rest fades into the background, which is the way it should be, because you want to get slapped with the focal point. The focal point on Justice for Cindy, depending on the person's peripheral, could be the bloody hands or the gavel, or even the wedding rings.
Mhm. Right.
But any more than that would have been too much.
Exactly. And like you said, you can kind of tell even by looking at the bloody hands, the bands, and then the broken justice sign and the gavel. Right there you're thinking, okay, something terrible happened with a married couple, and they're angry about it, because she didn't receive justice or, that kind of thing. And that's kind of what you can put together based on those couple of pictures, that it obviously has to do something with a murder and a married couple and then the injustice. And it's all right there on the cover.
And it's not too busy. There's not too much.
Mhm.
And I have seen book covers that are too much, and I'm going, what is? But then on the other hand, I've seen book covers where, oh, this is boring.
Yeah.
Even before.
Yes, there are several of them out there. Just take a look sometime at pull up any subject you want and go on either Amazon or one of the sites that sells the books and just put in mystery or crime, true crime or whatever, and you just look at some of those covers and I'll tell you what, they're like, where did they come up with this? And I don't know if it's because I'm just being too picky or too critical about it, because I know that I would have come up with something different, but just some of the covers are like, oh my goodness, what the heck happened here? It was like no thought process went into it, or no, like you have to have a feeling when you're doing the cover. You have to be able to feel what you think is being felt or going to be felt within the book. Because if you don't have the feeling or the connection with the book, then you're going to lose focus.
Yes.
I could just slap, anything for Cindy I could have slapped on the front there. But I wanted to be able to feel what was going on inside that book.
And what was going on.
Sense.
Yes, and what was what you wanted the reader to pull out of the book. That's another thing we hadn't talked about, is book covers have to also help the reader want to pull something out of the book.
Mhm.
Another one of my books, did The Pink Canary.
Mhm.
That's one of my favorite covers. It's one of my all-time favorites.
The skull, is that the skull with the pink wig, right? Yeah.
You should hear people.
He was was that the one that took place in Key West?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
And it was like a cross-dresser or something, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, it was a drag queen by night and a private detective by day. And I gave you a little bit of the story, and bam, there it was.
Well, you had to have pink on there somewhere, right? Because it's
Absolutely.
Pink Canary. So that's where the pink wig came from. And, of course, it's a crime or a mystery, so you got to have a skull. So there you go.
And I've had more compliments on that cover. I get compliments on all my covers. But that one just seems to jump out at people.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's different. Ladies and
and
gentlemen.
I try to do different and unique. That's my goal. My goal is to do something that is unique to your story, that you're not going to find, like at the big publishers, like when they do a romance or they do a historical romance, all of the pictures are a guy and a girl and they're hugging and her dress is blowing in the wind
or half off
and that's
of her.
it. Yeah,
and
exactly.
He's
and
naked
they're
from
all
the waist up.
Yeah, but they're all the same exact thing.
Uh-huh.
And it seems like it would tell any story. Like it would be able to be on any historical romance. It's not creative to your or unique to your story. So
and
that
Debi
is what I try to accomplish, is to
Debi
be unique.
And she doesn't duplicate covers either. I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this woman does not duplicate covers. If she uses something on my cover, I never see it on another cover. Not even, and it may be out there, just haven't seen it, but I've never seen what she does on my covers on someone else's covers. And what you have to understand is when she talks about going in and manipulating these photographs and buying these photographs, she has to purchase these pictures from these sites, and some of them are not cheap. So what I pay for, and I always get a full cover from her. That's front, back, and spine, because she puts the back together with the synopsis and either my picture or in Justice for Cindy, she puts Cindy's picture there, and she makes it just blend into a beautiful, beautiful piece of artwork. And when she's talking about manipulating these photographs, as a photographer, I understand what she's saying, because I fight with my photography programs all the time. You have to go in and you have to crop and you have to move and you have to stack and you have to unstack. You have to get the colors right. You have to get the print right, because you do have print on these books. You have to get the photographs right that you're putting on the outside. You have to get room for the ISBN number, am I right?
Mhm. And also,
Plus
too, you have to get them to fit on a 6x9 cover, which means if you have this big face that you're needing to put on the cover and you don't want the face to take up the entire cover, there again, you're manipulating it, you're making it smaller, you're making it just the right size, so when it fits on the cover, it looks like a real face or a real head or a real hand. They're not big and floppy. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to fit to the proportion of the cover and the other things that are in the cover. So, yeah, it's a lot of work. And I taught myself, actually, how to do all my programs. A friend of mine gave me her Photoshop program, and I just played around with it and taught myself how to use it. So I've never taken, like, graphic design or anything like that in school, but I did teach myself how to use all my programs.
So let's go back to building a cover, because I want people to understand that when they ask, well, how much do you charge to do a cover, and you give them a price, it is well worth that price. Number one, if they were to pay you hourly for what you do, let's say in the case of the current author you have, and it takes you 2 months working 5 hours a day, and you work 5 days a week on this thing, that's a lot of time, your time.
Right. Yes, it is. And I work sometimes up until, like, you'll see me sometimes I'm playing around on Facebook and it's like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And the reason why I'm usually on there that late is because I'm working on my cover and I need a break.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I'll work on covers, all day if I have to or all night. But as soon as I get word that somebody needs a cover and I get their email, right away I'm on it. Right away, first thing I do. I get on my sites, I look for the pictures, and I start working on it right then and there.
But it's not
then,
something she's going to... It's not
I don't
she's
put off, I don't put
it
it off, and I don't say, I'll work on that later, or I'll get to it when I can. I do them as soon as I get word that you need a cover, because it's very important that you have that cover to be able to promote your book, perhaps show it to neighbors or friends or family members, give them a little teaser of what's to come with the book, and then, use it for your promotions. Even if your book's not ready yet, just letting people know, look at this cover, this is what's coming out, and people get a taste for that. And then they're like, oh, we can't wait. So it's very important, I think, as the cover designer, that I get the cover to you, even though you're like, oh, it's a year away or whatever, get it to you as soon as I can, because then you can use it and do what you need to do with it as far as shopping it around or, letting people see it, posting it on Facebook, putting it on your blog, and then you have it. And then, like, sometimes what happens with you, Yvonne, maybe you'll need a little bit of a change, or you'll need maybe the size made different, or the, something might be sticking out like over the mark on the end at the 0.25% that you have to have inside the cover. And I'll go ahead and I'll take care of that for you, no problems at all. That is my responsibility. I am there from the beginning until even after that book is published. And if you need something changed or you need something worked on, as long as it's within reason, no questions asked. It's done.
And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this woman is absolutely amazing. She does exactly what she says she does. We had a few challenges with a couple of the spines, and I told my publisher, I said, Kelly, you get with Debi instead of coming through me and then going to her. Get with Debi and you two work it out. Y'all pass this cover back and forth, because Kelly's trying to format the book, and it needs an eighth of an inch fixed on the spine. Sometimes she can fix it, sometimes she can't. Sometimes she has to send it back to Debi. And Debi is a marvel. She is an absolute marvel. I don't know what I would do without her. You're not allowed to die or move out of the country or change your name.
And you know what, though? It's talking about, fixing the covers and all. There are times when I have literally had to redo, and this is for you, I do it for you, the entire cover just to get that size to fit. Because if it's something that is not fitting and it's not working perfectly, I put it back into my book cover program, and sometimes I need to redo the entire cover from start to finish within that time period. Yeah, so because I want it to be perfect. I don't want to cheese on it. I don't want to skimp on it. Yes.
Because your name is on the back of that cover.
Yes.
And that is your, what's the word I'm looking for? That is your advertisement. That's your face. That cover is your face. Mm-hmm. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, if you want, and Debi you could probably do CD covers too, couldn't you, Debi?
Yes, I do. I do CD covers, DVD covers, bookmarks. I mean, really anything that involves putting your cover onto a different piece of advertisement. Or I have done a couple of CD covers for Dr. Caldwell, and he does like therapy and stress relief, and he wanted some CDs for people to listen to them in the car. So by doing that, I did CD covers for him and the DVD case and things like that. So, yeah, I pretty much can work with whatever you need to be, worked with. And if for some reason I can't do it, which really hasn't ever come up, thank God, but I will let you know if it's just something that I just can't tackle.
Speaking of bookmarks, my husband said, Yvonne, you need to order some bookmarks so you can start handing them out again. So, Debbie, work your magic, honey. do me some bookmarks of the different books and give me a price. See, ladies and gentlemen, how she and I work. And when I get an invoice from Debbie, I'm going to tell you, I get excited. I love paying my invoices to Debbie. Boom. She sends me the cover. She sends me the invoice. Boom. She gets paid right then. Yes,
and it's awesome.
Because
absolutely.
Because you're so amazing at what you do. I have to tell you, we did 2 anthologies. We did 2 horror anthologies. We were going to do one, had so many, we split it up into 2. And her son, who I absolutely adore, I adore this child. He picked the names of these 2 anthologies. Debbie, tell that story.
Well, my son, will get involved sometimes when I'm working on a book cover. He likes to see what I'm doing. He'll tell me, "Oh, Mom, like that." And he's 17 now, but I believe at the time when we did your anthologies, was it last year or the year prior at Christmas?
It was the year prior.
Yeah, he was 14. Only probably about 15, I think, then, or not even 15. But
maybe 14.
I said, Nick, I need a name. Yvonne needs a name because he knows who you are. He's seen me do enough of your covers. And he just said, well, how about this? And he just came up with it, and I'm like, Yvonne, what do you think of this name? Because we were both having trouble, right, coming up with the correct name for that book based on what the cover was. And, he just said, how about this? I forget what exactly was the name of the one because I know he did 2 of them. Satan's Holiday.
Satan's Holiday,
okay.
And Welcome to Your Nightmare. And
Welcome to Your Nightmare, yes. So he, came up with them, and then I sent them over to you, and you're like, oh, my gosh, So, he likes to get involved a little bit, too, with
and did you see
covers.
Where we acknowledged him in the acknowledgments for picking those names. I don't know if you know that or not, but he's in
No,
both
I
of those.
didn't. I didn't know that. No. I know you said you were going to, but I didn't get a chance to see that. But that is wonderful. Thank you very much.
Tell
I appreciate
him
that.
he is forever in perpetuity in 2 of my books.
I will definitely tell him that. I think he would enjoy hearing that. Yes, definitely.
Because now I know when I can't think of a book name, I know who to call. Debbie, get Nicholas. This is a stop. Tell Nicholas I need a name.
Yeah. And, my husband, too, he's a very big help because when he sees I'm having, a hard time on a cover, for instance, one I'm doing right now has to do with God and things like that. It's a spiritual book. And he's like, what's wrong? Because he can sense, when I'm getting oh, my gosh, I can't get this picture that this guy wants. And then I'll talk with him about it and explain to him exactly, what the guy needs. And he's like, well, how about if you do this? So I have some great helpers. I really do. They're both, my husband and my son are just very, very, they stand behind me. They support me. Like I said, I'm up to all hours of the night sometimes and, no trouble there. They just support, the whole entire writing thing and the cover thing, and they're just good guys.
How many covers have you done to date?
Upwards of 100. They're all on my website. Every single cover you can see.
And where is your website?
It's www.debidesantis, small letters, .com.
And it's D-E-S-A-N.
D-E-B-I. Yeah, Debbie spelled different. It's D-E-B-I. And then it's D-E-S like Sam, A-N-T-I-S, DebiDeSantis.com.
Yeah, because I don't want people.
And you can find that on Facebook. They can find that on your page because I do believe we're connected there to Wild Orchid Book Covers, which is the name of my book cover, the name of the company there. And it's not under that, believe it or not. It's just Debi DeSantis because that way I can list my stories, my covers. Everything is just connected to that one website, through different pages. And I also do websites, too, if anybody's interested.
So, see, ladies and gentlemen, she's one stop. She does book covers. She does CD covers. She does DVD covers. She does bookmarks. She can do build websites. So this, you want this woman on your team. I'm telling you, if you are an artist of any kind, you want this woman on your team. Now, I will share her. To a point.
It'll cost you, though, right?
It'll cost
I'll
you.
share it. It'll cost you.
But she's well worth every dime that you spend with her. You will not be disappointed because she is an A-type personality like I am. She's very anal about her work, and if it's not perfect, she will not turn it loose. Trust me. So, Miss Debbie, that being said, we've got 6-7 minutes left. And what I want you to do, if you will, because I do this at every show, I want you to tell me and tell the audience out there what you would tell someone if they came to you and say, Debbie, I have this dream or I have this passion,
But that's where you're leaving it? I mean, is that what you're asking me to finish that?
I
can't even finish my book. And I'm only kidding. You want me to finish that? Oh, my gosh.
I want if someone came to you and said, I have a dream, but I'm too busy. I've got little children. How would you help them, or what advice would you give them to live their dream? Because, none of us are promised tomorrow. We're not even promised the next 5 minutes.
Right, exactly.
If you had put off doing your book covers, you wouldn't be doing them now, and I wouldn't have a book cover designer. I'd be very pissed. But that being said, it's something you're passionate about. You enjoy it. So, and you make time for that in your life.
Yes, I do.
So
even when I'm on vacation, which is a big no-no, but I will let you know, when I was in Mexico this year, I was working on a book cover. So I do it all the time. I mean, like you said, I'm very passionate about it. And I would tell somebody who was thinking about doing something that they were very passionate about, but kind of putting it on the back shelf, like you said, do it, because you're never promised what's going to happen tomorrow, or like you said, in the next 5 minutes. Just go for it. I mean, that I don't even know how else to say it besides that, and I'm sure everybody's heard the same thing, go for it, don't put your dreams on hold and whatever, and that is something that, we instill in our son and my daughter Brittany. If that is something that really means a lot to you and you want to do it, whether it works out or not, because like I said, I had my dream of my gift basket business, and I did that, and unfortunately I wasn't in a great spot. I mean, that's another story, but it didn't work out, but I was proud of myself for taking the time and the energy to do it and to create my store and to sell my baskets and to put my name on those baskets. And I still to this day do them every once in a while, because I have customers that will call me at Christmas and whatever wanting, some more gift baskets and things that I've had from 10 years ago. So, I mean, it's something that I did, and then I also wanted to do the covers. Anything creative, give it to me, and I will do it. And if people are out there and they're wanting to do something like that, whether it's making jewelry, because I also made my own jewelry, I love to dabble in everything. So,
and you didn't fail. The thing is, when you had your gift basket store, you didn't fail. You succeeded because you pursued that dream and did it.
Right.
It wasn't a failure. My philosophy is, if you say, well, tomorrow I'll start, or the day, or when the children are grown and gone, or when I retire, I'll go after my dream. Well, you've already failed.
Right, because you didn't do it. Is that what you're saying? You didn't take that step to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah. You didn't make it a priority in your life. And you say someone says they're passionate about something, they want to do something. My first question is, how bad do you want this? And
I think what it is too, Yvonne, a lot of people are scared. They're scared to go ahead and to jump off that cliff. It's like they're right there on the edge, but maybe to them, oh, I'll never have the time, or my family won't cooperate, or, I'm too busy doing this, or I have another job. Even when I was working in retail and I was working selling furniture, I was writing at the same time. So, I was doing my book, and I was taking care of my son, and I was working 40 hours a week just like everybody else does, but I made sure that I had time to do that book. And then once that book was finished, that's when I talked to Dominic and said, listen, I really enjoy doing this. And fortunately, we were in the position that he said, okay, go ahead and follow your dreams. So, that's very important, too, to have a good backup system and a husband or a wife or a partner that is 100% behind you. Because if they're not, it's going to be tougher than, jumping off that cliff is even going to be way tougher than what you thought.
One can do it.
Because you need a good support system.
Yes, you do, and thank God I have one with Jack. He is a wonderful support. In fact, he's where I get a lot of my stories from.
But no, and it's true though, because I have somebody on Facebook. I was reading their post yesterday or the day before, and she was like kind of crying on Facebook, like, I can't believe this. She's an author. Why don't I have good support for my husband? Why isn't he behind me? I'm almost done this book, and he does nothing but complain, and, just giving her a really hard time about it. And it's just such a shame, because maybe she's got the talent, like you or like a Nora Roberts or Debbie McComber or whatever. She could be the next one of them. But without her husband's support and her family's support, she'll never know if she doesn't, go for it.
And she is allowing them to destroy her dream.
And that's exactly what she's doing, to the point where she was like pretty much sobbing on Facebook because of it. And it's just a shame to have read that, because I feel really bad for her that she's in that position where she's just wanting so much to be able to, finish her book, and she just is not able to, because they're not, her husband or partner or whatever is not allowing that to happen.
I'd kick him to the curb.
Exactly. Lock the door. Don't let him in.
Change the locks. Turn out the light. That party is over.
That's right.
Because
that's right.
I'm sure that she supported him in his dream, so it's a reciprocal thing.
Yes, it is. And you know what my husband's dream is? His is to play baseball, and he played for the Phillies and he played for the Angels, and when I met him, he was playing. And to this day, 47-year-old, he just won a championship playing baseball for the 45 and up league, and they're getting a ring, and he's so excited, and he goes away to play. He travels to play or whatever during, different seasons of the year, and it's just like awesome, and I support him 100% on doing that. That is something I'd never take from him. And his dream has always been baseball. Yep.
Way to go. Tell Dominic I said, way to go.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. And I'm very proud of him, and, it's just really good to see him still doing what he loves to do.
At 47, I can barely move. I'm 65.
I know. I know. I'm having a hard enough time climbing the steps at the stadium, and he's out there running bases and stuff. So, yeah, good for him. Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason. My wonderful, wonderful guest is my cover designer, Debi DeSantis. And, yes, go check out her website. And if you've got a book that you're getting ready to publish, get in contact with her. Hook up with her off of my Facebook. Tomorrow night our show will be at 8 o'clock, and the name escapes me because it's been that kind of day. Normally I write it down, but that's what happens when you get old. You get Alzheimer's disease. Just join us. It'll be a surprise.
And thank you so much, Yvonne, for having me. It has been a pleasure. And I have to say, this is the first time we've literally talked on the phone.
And we've known each other
over
since
email.
God.
We've talked through Facebook, constantly always in touch. But this is the first time that I've literally had the pleasure of speaking with you in person on the phone.
And you're not nervous at all, are you?
No. It was very, very, very nice. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anybody who mentions Yvonne's name that you heard us speaking on her show, the book cover I'll do for you for $1.99 for the entire cover, the front, the back, and the spine, and
wow.
as many edits as you need. So just mention
Ladies,
Yvonne's name, and you'll get the discount. And I'll do $1.99 for the whole cover.
It gets no better than that, ladies and gentlemen. So get in contact with Debbie because she is a poppin' book cover designer. I'm telling you. So until tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Off the Chain. I'm Yvonne. Live your dreams. Until then, we'll talk tomorrow. Good night. Debbie, stay on line just a minute.
Yes.
Okay, we are off the air, but what we talk about now will go into archives. So,
okay.
What will happen, I forgot to tell you this, and I love the interview. The interview was wonderful. It was absolutely
thank
marvelous.
you. Yes, I enjoyed it. I really did. It was much easier than I thought it was going to be.
It's just me and you and 5,000 friends.
Yeah.
But what will happen now, when we disconnect, the thing will go into archives. It will immediately upload to iTunes. It will immediately upload to Stitcher, which is played on Sirius Radio, which is in cars now. You know, it's the
Yeah, I have Sirius Radio. It'll play on what?
Okay.
What's it called?
Stitcher. STITCHER.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you can find Stitcher on your Sirius Radio, then look for Off the Chain, and you can hear this show in your car and share it.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah, I will definitely.
And I will upload it to SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Podomatic, Podcast.com, Hipcast, Spreaker, and then from Spreaker it loads up to FM.com, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube.
Oh,
and
boy, wow.
Yeah, so you're going to be heard all over the world.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot. Wow.
So what will happen is when I upload to these different podcasts, I will put the link up on my page and I will tag you in it. Now, you take this show and link it to your web page and share it with everybody in God.
Okay.
Because this is my gift to my guests. They can use this show. They have my permission to use this show any way they wish.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Because there's a lot of we did more book cover than we did your books. I want to talk. That's why.
Yeah, that's fine. Believe me. Yes, that's fine.
And when I bring you back, then you'll have the third book done. We can talk about the third book, how it came about.
Yes. You know what? I should probably go on like a real long vacation to Italy or something, and then work on my book. What do you think?
There you go. About a month to do it. But it will take me, I probably won't have everything up until tomorrow, but it will immediately go up. Once it archives, it'll immediately go up to Stitcher and iTunes. And if you pull up your iTunes and type in Yvonne Mason Podcast, if the show is Off the Chain, and that show will come up, and all the shows are there, and it'll be yours, and you can download whatever you want, download the whole thing, and then go to Stitcher and pull it up because it should immediately go up on Stitcher shortly after it uploads to archives. And then I'll get to everything else.
So right now what we're talking, that's not going on there, right?
Yes, it will go. People that listen in archives will hear this conversation, which is good because then they know where else to go to look for the show.
Oh, okay.
See, that's why I kept you on so I could tell you all the stuff, and then people can also hear it. So with that being said, I'm going to end the archive part of the show and get this thing uploaded, and thank you again for being on my show. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much again for having me, and I'll see you a lot on Facebook, I'm sure. And I will start working on your bookmarks.
Okay. Just
okay.
Whatever. Just let me know. All right, darling. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care. Thank you. Have a good night, Yvonne. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming and I'm loud. Roar!
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on Geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even a